All right, so here's a little break from the LA protests going on. This is a smaller story, but I wanted to cover it anyways. And I had to read a few articles and just to wrap my mind around what the heck's going on here. I'll elaborate in a second, but this is from CBS News. Trump says he's restoring the original Confederate names of these army bases, but with new namesakes. This is just like, I was like really trying to like understand what the hell's going on here. Because like during I think Biden's term, he renamed a bunch of military bases that were named after like Confederate generals or Confederate soldiers of the like um, to some other names, and now Trump and Hegseth are changing them back to those Confederate names, but they're honoring different people. It's weird. President Trump announced Tuesday that he will restore several more Army-based names that originally honored Confederate military figures, undoing a renaming process ordered by Congress and completed under President Biden. Through the bases will officially recognize other service members, not Confederates, going forward, but they're restoring the original. It's so weird, and it's just like to say like, we're not honoring Confederates here. Look, no, we're just changing it back to the same name, but it's actually for this private from World War One. It's so silly. We won a lot of battles out of these forts. It's no time to change, the president said in a speech at Fort Bragg, which the Trump administration renamed from Fort Liberty earlier this year. And I'm superstitious, you know. Remember like when the right was complaining that the left just got caught up on names and stuff, whether in labels, whether it be for gay people or the LGBTQ community, and the initial renaming of these bases, which, let me be clear, it makes perfect sense to rename bases that were named after Confederate soldiers or generals. Like, these are people who rebelled against the Union, against the United States, and actively tried to overthrow the United States. Well, what are we talking about here? Like, that's akin to, like, why don't you just name a fucking military base after some Nazi general? Like, what the hell's going on here? Mr. Trump listed out 7 army bases that will revert to a variation of their original names. Under this process, the bases won't be formally named after Confederates who took up arms against the U.S. during the Civil War, but instead after other service members who share similar names. Why? Why? Just leave them as is. What, like, this is so weird. Here are the renamed bases and their new namesakes, according to an Army spokesperson. Fort Gordon in Georgia, originally named after Confederate John Brown Gordon, renamed in 2023 to Fort Eisenhower after President Dwight Eisenhower, will now honor Master Sergeant Gary I. Gordon, a Medal of Honor recipient who fought in Somalia. Okay? This is so weird. Like, why are you specifically going back to the original name but honoring someone else with that name? Like, I don't know how. I don't even think I can like explain how this just warps and just makes my brain like fry. Like, this is just weird is the simplest way I can put it. Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia, originally named after Ambrose Powell Hill, renamed in 2023 to Fort Walker after Dr. Mary Walker, will now honor 3 Civil War Medal of Honor recipients: Lieutenant Colonel Edward Hill, First Sergeant Robert A. Penn, and Private Bruce Anderson. It's so weird. Fort Hood in Texas, originally named after John Bell Hood, renamed in 2023 to Fort Cavazos after General Richard Cavazos, will now honor a World War I hero named Colonel Robert B. Hood. Fort Lee in Virginia, originally named after Confederate General Robert E. Lee, renamed in 2023 to Fort Gregg Adams after Lieutenant General Arthur. Is that a typo there? Gregg and Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams will now honor Private Fitz Lee, commended for heroism during the Spanish-American War. This is so weird. Like, it's obvious that they just want it to go back to the original names and a wink and a nod to the Confederacy, and they're just digging up, like, it's like they're going through a database here. It's like, all right, is there anyone who's actually, like, a part of the actual U.S. that has the same name as the Lee? And, like, I'm so confused, man. What the hell are we doing? This is such a stupid country. I hate it here so much. This is so weird. Fort Pickett in Virginia, originally named after George Edward Pickett, renamed in 2023 to Fort Barefoot after Tech Sergeant Van D. Barefoot, will now honor Lieutenant Vernon W. Pickett, decorated for extraordinary heroism in World War II. Like, why? Okay, if you want to be petty and rename these because Biden named them something else and you hate everything Biden did, okay, more power to you. But why are you going back to the original names that were clearly marked after Confederate leaders or Confederate soldiers, whatever, and then saying like, no, 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 it's not for them anymore. It's for this person. Like, I'm just, am I making sense here? I'm probably not, because I'm trying to describe something that doesn't make sense. But I'm the only one here. It's just so like mind broken about this. It's so weird. Fort Polk in Louisiana, originally named after the Leonidas Polk, renamed in 2023 to Fort Johnson after Sergeant William Henry Johnson, will now honor General James Polk, a World War II officer who later commanded U.S. Army in Europe. Fort Rucker in Albania, what the hell? Alabama, originally named after Edmund Winchester Rucker, renamed in 2023 to Fort Novaso after Chief Warrant Officer Michael J. Novaso Sr., will now honor World War I aviator Captain Edward W. Rucker. This is so weird. Also, I don't know if this mentions it, but I'm pretty sure this is a very minor nitpick considering just what this all is, but like, I think this is illegal because this was all changed through the power of Congress. So like, you can't just come in and change it to whatever you want without congressional approval. But hey, that doesn't even matter anymore. Trump doesn't care about congressional approval. Yeah, this is just weird, man. Like, as I said, it makes sense to initially rename these bases away from Confederate names because these are literally traitors and rebels to our country. Would I personally, as Biden, like, went through the political effort of changing all this? I don't know, maybe if we lived in a more perfect country and I just got through, like, pushed through an awesome agenda of, like, healthcare for all, a livable wage that's, a minimum livable wage, something like that. But, like, wasting political capital and congressional time on this from either side is just, it just blows my mind considering everything else that's going on. And it is just so weird that Trump wants to rename them back to their original Confederate names, but honoring different people with the same names. Like, I get it, you're racist, but like most of us aren't like that, or at least I'd like to think. Just like, why are we putting political capital into this? Like, why? Like, we have people dying and going bankrupt from lack of health care. We have like 1 million homeless people in the wealthiest country that this planet's ever seen. And many of them are veterans. We have people working several full-time jobs just to barely get by because we don't have a livable minimum wage. But here we are. Shame on Trump. A little shame on Biden for putting any capital on this to begin with without doing anything like this is something we can focus on after the fact, after we actually materially improve people's lives. But all around, this is just mind-bending, mind-numbing, whatever. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.